Good afternoon, everybody. How's it going? We're here later than normal,
Mhm.
depending on where you are in the world. We had a time change, so this
Yeah.
still worked out. We could have a chat at a bit of a later time. So hopefully you're gonna join us live. It's me and Rasa here after I don't know 3 weeks. I think it's been
I
like
think,
2 weeks at least that we haven't chatted. So
yeah, it's kind of mad. Yo, yes, I think it's free to be honest. I
okay, yeah,
think because the one time I couldn't. Anyway, does it really matter? Not really. I mean, I'm
it's been
glad
a
we
while.
chat.
Basically, it's
Yeah,
been
it's
a
been a
while.
while.
Hmm.
It's the time hasn't changed in here, so that's why it
Yeah.
was convenient because it's kind of weird. So we changed time earlier in winter before winter,
Hmm.
but we changed later for summer. It's kind of
Right.
odd because you guys already changed, and we're only gonna change it in end of the March.
Right, right.
So we still have like at least a week and a half. I don't know which month, which date. Yeah, it's like 20
Mhm.
days
Yeah, yeah,
left, 21 days
yeah.
left until we change the time.
Well, and it's the same conversation we always end up having, like here in Winnipeg and stuff, with
Oh,
friends and
time
things. When these
change.
time changes happen, it's like just stop changing the times. Like, why the fuck are we doing it? It'll never make sense to me. I'll complain about it every single time, and then I'll change the times, and then I'll get used to it, and then so. But it's ridiculous. I think it's ridiculous to change the
I heard
times.
somebody saying it's an economical thing. It's the
I mean, I'm sure there's some bullshit reasons
shipment
about it, but the
bullshit.
province next to us doesn't change time zones. Like they or
Oh,
change their clocks, you know what I mean? So it clearly works. So I'm sure there's all sorts of theories. I'd call
oh,
bullshit on 90% of them, but yeah, I'm sure there's all sorts of stuff out there.
I don't know what makes it anymore in this world lately. So
Hmm.
let's say it
Hmm.
this way: so
Hmm.
much bullshit around us is ridiculous to even
It's true.
comprehend what's happening. Lots of scary stuff.
Yeah,
Anyway,
it's true.
um,
Hey, so did you watch Daredevil?
so they release 2 episodes, didn't they?
2 episodes, yeah.
Why did they do that? It's kind of odd, eh? Or did they always have done it?
I'm not really sure. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad they did. I'm
No.
glad that they released 2 episodes because I wasn't. There was parts of the first episode I liked, but there was parts that I really didn't like. So I'm
Uh-huh.
glad they released the second episode because I thought the second episode was better than the first.
Oh.
And it gave me a little more to kind of like chew on, where it's like, okay, maybe this will be interesting, and maybe this will go somewhere, and I mean, I guess the first thing to say about it is it may be called Daredevil Born Again, but it's not Daredevil Born Again that we know from the comics.
Well,
So
definitely
that's always
not.
a little like come up with another fucking title,
Mm.
or maybe it's going to kind of try to weave some of the storylines into it. But I guess we'll see. But it's
It's definitely
either way, Daredevil is back on the screen.
yeah. So the born again stuff, it's has to be quite crazy more, and it doesn't look like it's crazy enough from the first
Yeah,
episode because
yeah,
we did have death. Okay, whatever. Spoiler alert! If you have watched
hmm,
it, if you haven't watched it,
hmm,
we have death. I can say
yeah,
this way. And that really impacted Daredevil's life or Matt Murdock's life, but that didn't
hmm.
impact as much as what Born Again is because. But then I think I don't know how they're doing the story to be honest in this
Yeah,
TV show because it seems to be they have some of it at the beginning, but then they completely forget about it and they're doing their own stuff. You know, like
hmm,
what you're saying about like the storyline taken or even taking the title of the story because if I recall correctly about the Born Again storyline, Kingpin it does go into that direction,
hmm,
but it's not fast enough on TV show. So I don't know how they're gonna, make that as impactful to be a Born Again. You know what I mean?
hmm, hmm.
And it's like, to be honest, and it kind of is becoming a bit more annoying than typically is. Disney likes slow, like storytelling and a lot of talking without needing to talk really
Right.
there's some moments where like okay we can like when the action happen you get really really
Interesting.
excited but then you
That's
have
interesting. Yeah.
moments where like okay we understand Matt Murdock is blind, we understand that he's not really in relationships, oh boy he does need to have a girlfriend, oh so we can have the story moving in that direction, because there's always this overlapping directions, like she's psychiatrist, and this girl who he met because there's this other woman kind of directing them together. It's like almost dating app situations. Like, do
Yeah.
we really need that kind of part of things? Just meet up, have a drink, blah blah blah. Let's get move on. The only thing interesting
Right.
about the girlfriend
I
part
mean,
for me,
you don't think that would be too thin though? Because like I hear what you're saying, but
yeah,
if that was presented, I would be like, well, then why introduce her at all? If you're just gonna have
well,
like this boom, 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 and then go there, it's like, well, then don't have it at all. Like
but
I
then,
hear you about the talking and stuff. I found those moments good because
yeah.
honestly, I found most of the action so underwhelming. Like I was really disappointed with that fight scene in episode
Yeah.
1. Tell me that wasn't fucking AI. Tell me that wasn't AI being
No.
utilized in a fight scene.
What do you mean on
No
the
fucking way.
you talking on the rooftop, or you talking about all
Leading
the
up to the
scene?
rooftop, yeah,
I
leading up
lead.
with
Oh,
Bullseye. There was parts
maybe.
of
Yeah.
that was like CG. Honestly, I think some of that shit was AI, and it looked
It
fucking horrible.
it looked clunky. It looked clunky. It
Yeah.
looked clunky, and it looked to the point where, how did you end up there now, and why he's there is so.
Well, and not
Hopefully,
only
there.
that, like one of the things. Hello, Dan Elson.
Mm,
One of the things that I think for a lot of people, us included, we talked about with those early
yeah.
Daredevil seasons, those fight scenes were unfucking real. Like they
Yeah.
were so intense and they were
Yeah.
so well shot and they were so violent and there was like these single cameras, like man, they were good. So to have this is like, okay, here we go, the first fight scene of the new
Yeah.
Daredevil. It was like, what the fuck is this garbage?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really that like if that would have been the only episode, I would have for sure watched the second episode when it came out eventually. But if that would have been the only one that they had, I would be really depressed. But because they had the second episode, I feel like the second episode stepped it
Mm-hmm.
up a bit. It's
Oh,
so
so you
great to
watched?
see Ian and Vanessa. Yeah, I watched both
Oh, okay.
because I had to. Like I'm a
No, 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 no.
Daredevil fan. I just had to.
But did you watch them in succession, or did you watch
I sure
them?
did. Yeah, yeah. No,
Oh,
we
okay.
watched them back to back. Me and Alicia,
Oh,
we
okay. We
stayed
didn't
up
do
late
that.
and watched both of them back to back because I couldn't go to sleep knowing there's another one there. It's like I don't watch much TV.
Yes.
So it's like I'm gonna watch both of these. And if you don't want to and you want to go to bed, that's fine. But I'm staying and watching both. So she barely made it through. She started falling asleep halfway through the second episode. But yeah, she made it.
Yes, Dan, we are talking about Daredevil new episodes
Yep.
from Disney. Well, I'm talking about the girlfriend part, yeah.
Yep.
The way they, she's there, quite an integral part of it because Kinpin and Vanessa have been issues, and she's gonna be the one who's basically dealing with that situation, their
Yeah.
relationship. Now, dynamic is she gonna be who is doing Daredevil and going out with him on purpose, and Kingpin is already employed her? Or is she's gonna be a tool by Kingpin finding out that she is his girlfriend? That's why I already said to you about that storytelling because the way that a second episode. So when I watched the Daredevil, I watched only one episode. We waited next day. We watched another one. Because it's kind of like you can mull around in your head to understand what's happening in the first one. Then the second one makes a bit more sense. So that's why I said to you about the first one, because I mulled around in my head the way you introduce the girlfriend, because the second one, episode basically explains quite a lot of shit going on. Because the minute you saw her with Kingpin and his wife, you knew already that this is what's going to be a thread line, between all four of them, let's say this way. So that's why I said why you need that kind of, like introduction, like that dating app and stuff like that. So for me, it's more important already in second episode, the girlfriend part, because she's already a psychiatrist who's going to be talking to Kingpin like whatever time they have, and makes it much more integral part of storyline. This is how I saw it at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And then I was surprised because you remember I think it's the first episode when the Kingpin just appeared, because you only see his back and you look, so it's really wide shot. You feel like he's going to be that massive guy again. And then he looks through that clothes selections of
Yeah,
his suits,
yeah.
and he's not picking the white one. And I said to my husband
Yeah,
straight away, "Oh, he's gonna pick the white one," and he didn't. I was like, "Oh shit,"
yeah, yeah.
because and then you realize why, because he slimmed down completely. So
Well, and
what
also
happened?
looking to transition away from the kingpin to
Yeah,
a
because
politician and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
also that injury he had. Remember, he had that injury, and I thought they
Yeah.
completely shut that down. But no, they didn't.
Was that from the Hawkeye TV series? Was that the Hawkeye series where he
Yes,
got shot? Yeah, that's right.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So his eye completely. We thought they killed him, but something happened, and he went into this recovery system. And because the only thing you can see, if you can actually eagle eyes, because I was looking for it and I was looking in his
Hmm.
face, will I continue that kind of storyline? He has this major scar on one side where he's
Hmm.
supposed to have
Hmm.
that recovery thing going on.
Yeah.
So then, and that's why it makes it a bit more sense now why he's so slim, more thinner. His way of
Yeah.
thinking is different. He wants to
Yeah.
approach it in different directions. So that well, I can't say the word. Continuation of the series, whatever they have production so far, makes more sense to me, because that
Hmm.
means they kind of join them all together in the same world.
Yeah. I mean,
And
it would
then,
be weird if you didn't. That's the thing, right? Like, it would be
no,
weird if,
yeah,
like, well, we saw that other show. What do you mean
yeah.
he's here? You know what I mean? So, yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
no, not everybody did though. That's the thing. What I'm
Yeah,
trying to
right.
say. So
Yeah.
some people cares
Yeah, yeah.
about it, some people don't.
Hmm.
Who cares? It's probably gonna be another like a like like oh tick, like it makes more sense. Story is a bit more bigger and wider. Another thing is, the bullseye situation.
Hmm.
Did you feel like it's a bit random? You just see him and then he's just like phew phew, and you're like, what the
It did, like, considering it was fucking Bullseye, and
exactly?
then kind of
Yeah,
dispatched, and then it was just kind
yeah,
of like, okay, I guess that's done. I mean, I
yeah.
assume he's gonna come back. I can only assume
Yeah,
that he's
yeah.
gonna be a part of the series,
And they
but
didn't say that.
it seemed a little odd.
Mm,
It was pretty great seeing fucking Murdoch do what he did,
yeah.
though. Like, that was
Ooh,
unreal. That was a pretty good moment.
hello, Prague.
Hello, welcome.
Hello. So yeah, that felt like, I mean, I honestly, so because of the action I see, because I never remember that guy's names in the comics. So when
Hmm.
they pointed out his name, which I absolutely don't remember now, but I know
Hmm.
it's a bullseye. It's like, shit, it's a bullseye, but why? Why the way he looks like that? Because I kind of wanted him to be like a comic bullseye. But the only
Yeah,
thing, it was telltale sign. He was wearing something and had a bullseye mark on his hand.
yeah, yeah.
And you're like, oh, okay, spot on, because because he couldn't stop aiming and he never missed, because that's what Bullseye's
Yeah,
ability, like
yeah.
no matter whatever. In that minute when he flicked something and he killed the fly, you knew straight away that this is the moment of Bullseye. And of course, it's
Mhm,
great if you're a fan of that kind of a reading comic
mhm.
books, because that's just like an extra thing for you, because like you pick up straight away, okay, nobody else can do this one, just Bullseye.
Yeah,
So
yeah, right. Yeah, yeah.
and then the white tiger situation, I'm completely dumbass. I don't
Mhm.
understand anything about it. Did you get it?
I didn't. I don't even know if I remember the character White Tiger, to be honest. And
Yeah,
I've read one or
yeah,
two Daredevil comics in my life.
exactly.
But I also know my memory for some of that shit. I could have very
Mm.
much read a couple of stories and loved them, and I just have gone out of my head. But
I,
I
I,
mean, it's an interesting character.
yeah,
The actor seems to be pretty great. Like
yeah.
it's an interesting idea.
Mm.
Um, I mean, I don't know if it's poorly done, Dan.
We
It's
just,
like
yeah,
it's not at the level so far. It's not at the level of the previous ones, in my opinion,
mm,
because the
mm,
thing that brought me to those original ones, even though there was parts of those stories that I thought were total garbage,
yeah,
the thing that was good with them, especially, was like those fight scenes and was that kind of drama and stuff, right? So it's not that this one is bad. It's just there was a couple of things that happened where it just wasn't as good as what it's been before. I mean, I'm still gonna watch the whole thing. Like, I don't intend to, like, I'll be watching the whole thing easily. It's a not even a question. But
so, yeah.
I mean, I think it's worth trying to find, as we always talk about, there's stuff that you can download, all sorts of things online. So
Yeah.
you'll find it somewhere, I'm sure.
Well, another thing is that Disney's month. If you just pay for 1 month, it pays really for itself. If you want,
Hmm.
at least if you have, of course, if you have time to watch. Let's say if you just say, okay, for this month, I'm gonna just watch Daredevil, and I think they have a couple other movies came out, and then I don't know how much is in America. Don't get me wrong, but in here we pay £5 for 1 month, but then you have the stupid ads, which kind of annoys the hell out of me. But for 1 month I can live with it because just
Yeah,
because I
right.
am a fan of Daredevil as a character of comic books as a reader, so I kind of
Hmm.
wanted to do that, so I don't want to miss out. So if you want to spend just mere minutes of it, and spend, I don't know how much it is, as I say, in America, but I wouldn't presume it would be quite a grand difference between two countries.
Yeah, no, I can't imagine. Maybe it'll eventually make it to DVD. I'm
Oh,
not even. Have the other seasons made it to DVD? Did they do physical releases of any of the Disney Marvel
I don't
stuff?
know. Nor did I look
Yeah, I'm
for
not
it.
even sure.
No.
I still have my VHS hooked up to there, Dan. It's we still at Christmas, although it's
Oh,
it's crapped out a little bit because I tried to play us. There's a Christmas videotape that I have, Cosmic Christmas,
yeah.
that we usually play, and it wasn't working. So that might either be the tape because it's so old or the machine. Oh, they did put some stuff on DVD. Crazy.
Oh, cool.
That's cool.
I never look for physical media when it comes to
Yeah,
TV
I never
shows.
have either for it. Yeah, never even thought about it to be
I'm
honest.
not the biggest fan of having that much going on in the
Hmm.
house, but just my preferences. Nor
Yeah,
do
yeah.
I ever like. I mean, if I honestly have not rewatched any of the previous Daredevils because I heard people done that before this came out. I didn't do it. I just kind of like want to know what's happening. Oh,
Hmm.
oh,
I
cool.
mean, that's a hell of a deal.
That is very good, Dylan.
Yeah,
Maybe,
Jesus.
yeah.
20 bucks, that's worth it.
So we might because me and Comic Crack likes to dissect Daredevil quite a bit because we've been watching all of them. So maybe we are a bit iffy when it comes to details because
Mhm.
it's true. The Netflix season of Daredevil, the fight scenes were fantastic and they didn't look clunky. And this one we already because fight scenes are easy, not easy maybe, but it is kind of like when motion doesn't make sense, even though you're not a fighter, for example, but just because as a spectator, the minute there's a pause, it's so choreographed, they don't do it naturally. So they have to
Right.
direct them properly, and they never felt like that in the Netflix series. Whereas
Hmm.
now, like what we say between that fight, and even on the rooftop, I honestly felt a little bit too much pausing. It's like he's gonna go for it because the way his body language we're looking at. Maybe I'm just being picky and just should
Well,
relax
and
and just
also
watch what I
some of
want.
the rooftop stuff, holy shit, did it ever feel like a sound stage? Like it felt like a set and not a really good one either. The
Yeah.
lighting seemed really flat where it was like,
Well,
am I
even on
watching
the
a stage play all of a sudden? What
yeah
the hell is this? Like with very sharp angles and it looked a little that some
yeah
of that stuff looked a little hokey as well.
yeah. So yeah, it's crazy
Yeah.
how it goes. To be honest,
Hmm.
how you see the. I think also you probably have a different choreographers or different martial, probably whatever specialist they employs, and that's kind of sees because at the end of the day they have to work with the actors, and actors needs to be directed really well if they're not part of the martial like background, martial skills. Like it's exactly thing like the worst thing you could watch if you like those kind of like fighting TV shows. Don't watch Iron Fist because that's the worst you can ever see.
Oof. I didn't
That
even
one
make it
is
through that series. It was so
somebody
shit. Yeah.
like it seems to be somebody paused in between and just didn't know how to edit properly because it just looked so clunky when it comes to fight
Hmm.
scenes. And it's because of actor who is been chosen to be part of becoming an Iron Fist, but he's didn't have enough time to properly train because it
Hmm.
just looked bad, to be honest. So
Yeah.
even just for a person who's not an expert, probably will tell you the same thing. It just looks off like a doesn't make
Well,
sense why
and
this
like I
happened.
said, that first fight scene in the new season of Daredevil, I'm convinced there's some fucking AI in there, blended in there. Like it looked so
Yeah,
bad. Like it
yeah,
was one of those. If it wasn't Daredevil, I probably would have turned it off, to be honest, because it just looked. it looked really bad, and it looked so digital and looked so fake that it was
Mm-hmm.
really like, wow, I mean, what the hell are we doing here, people? So I'd be
Yeah.
curious. I haven't looked into it online to see what the word is online, but
Yeah.
that's just kind of how it looked. Yeah. I mean,
Well,
but again, fully intend to watch the rest, and I hope it
oh yeah,
gets
yeah, yeah.
even
I
better.
have no doubt I'm gonna be. We already. My husband said to me, "Can we watch another one?" I was like, "No,"
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and it's like, "Damn,
Yeah.
why not?" I was, well, because it doesn't come out in whole chunk. It's like I could binge watch it straight away. I was like, "Yeah, I know you
Yeah.
would,"
Yeah.
because
Me as
he
well.
loved the first one as well. Also, I mean, I'm a big fan of Vincent D'Onofrio, but damn, that man can act, and I really
Yeah.
do enjoy his.
Hello, Donald Rex.
I actually even watching his Law and Order Criminal Intent,
Mm,
because he's main detective, and I always like
hmm
his the way he dissects the story, even though it's not. I don't think it's aged really well, but I just like the man's acting skills. I like really like it, and him as
Yeah.
a doing it. You know, like when you see emotionally not, you know, like Kingpin never been emotionally stable, but he always like you can see he's a grand man, you know, like let's say this way. But the what he like, you know, when he was sitting in a diner having conversation between two of
That
them,
was a great scene. Yeah.
and he was just those fingers of his just went for to town, and you're like, oh yeah.
hmm
Or it's like, because I was thinking something's gonna bad happen, but he's really maintained his grace. Like, you know, he has a, and that's the thing with him, is like he has an idea of become a man. That's it, nobody can stop him, and he's just like gonna be completely taking over. And it's funny enough that some other people like how they call him as well, like a criminal, and it's true. You know, I mean, how
Yeah.
the hell do you get them elected? Which we know in real life that happens. But hey, what I'm trying to say, the guy is just that scene was really nice, and it was really quite
Yeah.
intense between two even actors. Let's say this way, the way they
It was.
were
Yeah. Yeah.
directing them really well. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, somebody's gonna pick up the punch and it's gonna slap somebody.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh. But none of them, you know, like that scene was great, and that's one of the
It
one of the
was because
scenes that I
there
remember.
was such a good underlying threatening tone to the whole thing. It was
Yeah,
one of those scenes where I wish they would have played it just as a one, or like just that side view instead of doing the cutting and everything. I wish
yes.
they would have just held that for the whole scene. I think that would have been amazing. But it was, even though it was cut up and stuff, it was still really, really good. That was the best part of it, I think.
Oh,
25-cent comic buying bonanza. He bought a huge collection and needs to clear out his garage that's full of comics to make room. Holy shit balls, Dan. Good luck with that. I'm
wow.
looking forward to you dropping in comments later what you picked up.
Wow. Lucky, lucky, lucky. When that luck is
Yeah.
shines through, make sure you take an advantage.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Mm,
That's insane, man.
that is crazy priced. Lucky, lucky.
Um, did you watch anything else that you want to talk about before we get into what we
Uh,
read?
have we spoke? I did watch Moana, which I absolutely loved. I think we
Oh yeah,
spoke about it.
Moana. It was good. Hey.
Yeah, I just enjoyed that. What else did I watch? Oh, Paddington. I did watch Paddington.
Uh-huh.
So Paddington was really good for me. My son
Mhm.
wasn't. He's not really into it. I don't know. Paddington is. It's like so much action going on, and it's a bit sad though. One thing, Antonio Banderas. Damn, the man does not do much of the like good acting anymore.
Mhm.
He's just
Mhm.
that, you know, crazed lunatic who is like obsessed with that. And it was perfect though. I mean, he did superb. But
Yeah.
you know, just the man has higher skills. You should use them for better, you know, movies. Let's say this way. But
Yeah. Right.
the
Right.
cast was outstanding. I mean, come on, to have that
Yeah.
kind of cast for Paddington the Bear movies just
hmm
makes it ludicrous in my mind. But
hmm
good for them if they are able to do so.
It
And
felt
hopefully,
like a Wes Anderson movie
mm,
at times. Like I really enjoyed it, even though I fell asleep for about 15 minutes, maybe because we were in the
oh
nice
boy,
comfy theaters. I watched the rest of it. I thought was really good. It was just a really sweet, simple, nice
yeah,
movie. Like,
yeah.
you knew everything was going to be okay, and this happens here, and but don't, I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty damn good, to be
Oh,
honest, for what it
yeah.
was.
No, honestly, as a pattern, it's always entertaining. So I always
Yeah.
enjoy it. It's like a really good family time together when
Yeah.
you watch that. So yeah, it's always kind of fun
Yeah.
to
Lil
watch.
enjoyed it as well too. She thought it was pretty great.
Oh, that's cool.
We went to
So
the
that's
theater that has these big reclining seats as well too,
oh,
so that was also why I started reclining, and then once I start reclining, that's it. I'm gonna fall asleep probably.
oh, I see. Yeah,
Have a
yeah.
little sneaky hit of my vape, and then pass out for a bit.
Yeah, because the too overcom. That's the thing. Very comfortable seats in cinema. I don't think it's a very good idea, to be honest.
Yeah, right.
Because the setting is way too adventurous. It's like if you're tired at least a little bit, that
Yeah.
is just waste of, like, not waste, but like it's just a time for you. Just like you can really doze off. The one
Hmm.
cinema we go is because it's cheap tickets. It's cheap seats as well.
Yeah.
So it's not really comfy for
Yeah,
a very
right.
long time. So you start to
Yeah.
move around a lot because to make that uh, behind to be a bit more comfortable, because it
Hmm.
tuna, and then you realize how long it is movies are with that kind of cinema, because 2.5 hours or 3 hours is stretching to a point
Yeah.
where you like, I feel broken, but also I'm excited because I just watched a great movie, for example, like if it is. But yeah, it's kind of becomes like a little bit of a oof. You realize, wow, that movie was really long.
Hmm.
It's the same
Hmm.
thing. We went to see Dogman movie with my son,
Oh yeah, 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 yeah,
and my son loved it, but
yeah.
honestly, I felt it was too long
Oh
for
really?
me. Yeah, it's not. It's plenty of. It was hilarious. It was funny. They
Yeah.
had really good voice actors, which is really that did help. The storyline wasn't bad at all whatsoever. But I'm not really big into Dogman because it's my son's thing, and my
Hmm.
my husband and my son knows more about Dogman because my husband actually reads him before sleep, so they're
Hmm.
well aware of everything. I had to actually ask my son, "Who is this guy?" And he's like, outrageously looks at me, is like, "But mom," this. I was like, you have to be a bit more quieter because we're sitting next to people. So,
Yeah, yeah,
but it was really entertaining. It was hilarious at
yeah. That's
times, but
good.
I felt they stretched it out way too long. Funny enough, I
Yeah.
found out that the writer, I think he's autistic as well.
Oh, okay.
So he have like problems as well, like my son has.
Hmm. Hmm.
My son has autism, so it kind of
Yeah.
makes I understand why he likes those books so much. I guess it just speaks volumes to creators who has
Yeah.
extra difficulties when it comes to your atypical human being,
Hmm.
or something. I think so. Something. Maybe I'm mistaken by autism, but something is going on with him that
Right.
he's not able to be like, even announce that. So I don't know, which is interesting. But
Hmm.
everything we have to label these days. So anyway, it makes it happier.
True.
Oh, so talking about comic books. So my Image comic books, like always, has been not delivered to me. So I don't
Hmm.
have no seasons 2 or whatever
Oh, you
come
don't
out,
yet? Okay. Yeah.
because it seems to be they keep on having issues to be delivered properly, or
Mm.
they continuously coming damaged. So I have to
Oh
wait an
yeah.
extra couple of weeks to actually receive them. I have though several comic books I can talk about. Part of
Yeah. Go for it. Start us off.
Okay, should I talk? Oh, I'm gonna talk about something which is random for me, to be honest, because you'll see the name. So I'm gonna show
Hmm.
the tablet. So I do apologize for the glare.
Oh yeah,
Um,
Wonder Woman.
yeah, but look at who's writer. Can you see the writer?
Is it? I can't see it actually. No.
So the writer is Tom King,
Oh,
and
Matt. Does that say Matt Kent? Oh, Tom King.
yeah, Tom King is a writer, and Daniel Sampiri is the artist, and Tomio
Oh,
Morey is colorist, I presume.
is that
So
a new one then?
yeah, this is the, I don't know, the DC comic books have it like absolute Wonder Woman, and they have this Wonder Woman. So I don't know
Uh-huh.
if it's ongoing Wonder Woman that Tom King got, but he's been writing it for like a couple of volumes already worth of
Hmm.
stuff. So this is the first volume, and I don't know why I intended, because I like it has really beautiful, by the way, covers,
Hmm.
extra covers you see in this one. And this guy was, I'm very surprised by of course, even Jim Lee work in here, by the way.
Yeah.
What I'm surprised by it, first of all, why did I choose to read this? But because I kind of like always want to dwell into Wonder Woman's world to see what's happening. But also, I was surprised how confused I was, because this people here, you because of what they wear, and you would think that is your atypical Bruce Wayne and our Superman, but that's Damian Wayne and Superman's son's name. I forgot now. What's his name? Anyway, so this is not. This is in the future, and that's how it starts. Because it's a volume one, so they have kind of. I think this came out before the start of the Tom King's run, and they start talking, and then this girl appears and is like, "What the hell is going on? I didn't know that she existed, or what? Who is she?" And she is a Wonder Woman's daughter. It's like, hey, what's happening here? How? Where? When? Who's she? Who did she do it with? Because knowing Wonder Woman, she was made from clay. I wonder if she was a clay. But anyway, this is called Trinity, and that's the way they start telling the story of big three characters, and they call them a Trinity. And they're having this conversation about the past, what happened, and basically they have to go through the trials and tribulations in order to save somebody. And I'm a bit confused in that sense. But this Wonder Woman run, when it started it without those young folk. Oh, by the way, the number this artist, I think I'm becoming a big fan. Look at this cover. Can you see it properly?
I can, yeah. That does look pretty good, yeah.
So this guy's name is Julian Totino Tedesco, but it's just it looks painted covers. They look fantastic, and the guy knows how to do it. I don't know. I'm becoming quite a big fan. Anyway, so the story starts with this one of the Amazonians going into pool bar and smash the hell out of the human men. And it seems to be there's this king's situation happening. I don't know what's going on in that sense, but what is this? There's a bad guy who is in authority. They call themselves Americans, like monarchy. So I didn't realize America has any kings and queens and anything. But the idea is how to basically destroy the Amazonians and what they are all about. And that female, of course, protect our Wonder Woman, who's in charge of being the representative, and she's wearing American flag colors, supposedly be because she's taking the stride of and proud being representing those colors, because she was protecting the human race no matter who you are, really. But then she's choosing those colors in order to be, because she's been living in America for whatever unreasonable amount of time, and but she's not actually in the mascara. And this monarchy's idea is to destroy Wonder Woman, and it seems to be what Tom King's abilities to do. It seems to be any character he's writing, or at least there's a theory. And if any character Tom King is writing is usually use them to a point where you can't return them back. So I heard that theory, and I was wondering to see if Wonder Woman will be another victim to Tom King's writing, where she's going to be completely destroyed. No, her identity is going to be destroyed. Her ability of being Wonder Woman, like the protector of men or people, rather. And in here, this monarchy is trying to destroy that and destroy Amazonians because they're females and they're threatening the men's dignities. And this is how they're gonna make people, men or army soldiers, destroy themselves, because they have a new lasso of ability, which is kind of fantastic, but I didn't know it also existed. It's it's very complicated storyline to completely dissect and tell you about. The only thing I can tell you is funny enough, I kind of really enjoyed it. I enjoyed the way it's been written. I enjoyed the way it's been kind of funny enough, it's kind of speaks volumes now what's happening in the world. And maybe they do that on purpose to get you kind of reading the stories as well. And I don't know what's intent of this for them to do so, but it really feels like it is kind of really present time what's happening, in Americans specifically, and how they dealing with politically, and how they dealing with females, and how the rights and everything. So it is, well, like the artist, the David Samprisi. I don't know if I've ever heard of him beforehand, but his work is stupendously beautiful to look at. All of its panels are busy. The composition of the way he's choosing to get those panels working together, it really works for me, and I was well impressed with everything. And the one thing, what I really enjoyed somehow, Wonder Woman had this one phrase. Everybody asking her a question, she's like, "No, thank you." And throughout this whole first volume, no matter in which situation, by death, by a villain who was coming after them, by armies basically flooding her with bullets and rockets, she just keeps on saying no thank you, kind of like telling them, like, like almost like, fuck, like whatever you are, I don't really rats about it. So it's really well, it has those with like fighting moments where you almost like, while I was reading this first, I think, issue, the soundtrack of the Wonder Woman movie, that almost like a Bond kind of type of like theme tune.
Hmm.
I could not stop hearing it, and I could not see the actress, because she kind of like, in some ways, really kind of looks like her. Like
Right.
the way it's been drawn in here.
Yeah.
But it's fantastic how one female was basically the artillery of men coming towards her, and that whatever she has, her lasso, a tiara, and her cuff, whatever those things she protects with, what do they call them?
Yeah, the bracelets or
The
whatever.
bracelets, the ability to basically withstand the onslaught she was coming after her, it was fantastic to look at, because not
Mhm.
only that it worked the way it's written, because they're going after female, and she just basically crushed them every single time, and the only way they can see is they're gonna basically, almost to a point, I think they looking for losing like nuclear or even villains, because that's
Mhm.
how where they go to this. But anyway, it's kind of fascinating. It's this is the introduction of the bad guy. So this is the monarchy. So you have a butler coming with the crown, and the douchebag who is in charge, or being a villain of the America, is this guy. And look what he's having. So this is the black lasso.
Uh-huh.
And this is so this lasso, it's in the Wonder Woman has lasso of truth, yes, it's a yellow gold one, and black lasso's power is you can manipulate the person's brain, and it like insert the message of persuasion to completely
Mm-hmm.
change like, for example, if you're not against females, you put that lasso over it, you suggest that those females are after your manhood and dignity.
Yeah, right.
They're basically chopping your balls off. How can you be a man? So you have to do something about it. So basically become
Right.
like like
Get brainwashed.
yeah, completely.
Hello,
Hello.
Brian Ewing, by the way. Hello.
Yeah.
And Paulo Costa.
And this is the guy's another cover, which I'm becoming a fan of.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really a cover guy, but when I see an artist which I really like, it's always nice to see. And even the guy who she's going out with, the American soldier, he was forced to basically confront her and tell her, like, can you please stop? Or like, even he trying to like to make her surrender, and she's like, no thank you.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
nobody can convince her, because she doesn't understand what the hell, like, what do you want from me? You can't do this. So because of that, one Amazonian's um, situation, which basically they accused her of murdering uh, innocent people, let's say, in that bar. And because she's an Amazonian and she's the female, they had to be dealt with, and you were looking for her and they can't find it. So in order to deal with that situation, they will completely take all Amazonians from America and flunk them back to the mascara, because they don't belong here. So what I'm trying, migraines and blah blah blah. This is kind
Mm-hmm.
of the situation.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really, as I say, really well drawn. It does help a lot. I can tell you one thing. Tom King, having good artists behind him, does really help his storyline. But I
Hmm.
don't know how it ended, because the way it ended, it kind of ended on the cliffhanger, and I don't have volume 2 to read yet. So I definitely probably gonna do, but I never have like high hopes, because I am not. I don't know if you guys well aware, but I'm not biggest fan of Tom King. But I'm always trying to see what else he can do. Helen of Windhorn is probably one of
Yep.
the most favorite things he has done so far for me, to be honest. Even though I don't agree with the ending, there were some stuff. So
Wait a
there.
sec. What?
And it's also like we always do in Wonder Woman. It reminds her of the origin and how stubborn she used to be, and how she defeated hiding her identity, how she defeated even and hiding behind her mother's, because mother wasn't willing to let her go to become Wonder Woman, or a person representing Amazonians. So she kind of like she won that battle between it. It was really nice to see that. And then look what she's done to the tank. Oh, she just picks one up and flings on top of another one, which is fantastic to look at, especially. And there's like a huge fight scenes. There's lots of action going on. So as I say, it's really, as I say, surprisingly entertaining read. And it's like you could pick it up, read it. It's probably gonna make you feel happy enough to what you picked without you needing to regret it. So I don't know
Hmm.
what's the idea. The only thing I was telling you about Tom King, so I was listening to some other person's opinions about Tom King on YouTube, and they weren't the biggest fans either. So that's why my my ear were like, oh, I need to listen to you longer to see what they say.
Yeah, yeah.
And their theory is that anything what they were reading, what he's writing, Tom King's writing, he usually takes characters and makes them like completely like destroys the character by itself. Like for example, they were talking about, I think, uh, um, isn't it Strange Adventures? And I think people weren't impressed with this writing on that stuff.
Right.
I heard that people that didn't like the Human Target that much either, because the way it was written. Anyway, so
Oh
it
man,
was
Human Target
interesting.
was, yeah, that was a good one. I liked it.
Okay, so as I say, I have not read it, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
it was entertaining. But I'm so far I can tell you this: this is really for this volume. I cannot fault it. It was really well written, and it's really entertained me from the beginning till the end. So there's something I am enjoying.
Hmm.
Oh, you bought hardcover. Nice.
Yeah, that's pretty great. Good luck on getting your wife into comics. I tried with my wife with Saga, and she read, I think she read the first two volumes, I think,
Uh,
and was enjoying it, but she just
yeah.
got really, because she didn't grow up reading comics, she just got tired of trying to figure out what to, like that became more of a challenge for her as she read it. She was enjoying the story, but she gave up. So good luck, Dan. Good luck.
Yeah, we are females are not we are the ones who's reading comics. I don't know, not many and far in between.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Because I struggled to explain to my friends, some of them who actually even cares, to be honest, which I don't have many, but in saying who cares in order to understand why I'm actually doing reading comic books. I said like I am absolutely like the genre. I always did,
Hmm.
because I grew up with the X-Men animated series, so I like superheroes. So and I love turtles to bits of no
Yeah.
return. So I guess
Yeah.
that's why I'm thoroughly enjoying my
Yeah. It
comic
was
books
easier.
now.
She read half of Bone and liked it, but gave up. But I started her on
Oh,
Usagi, and she's all in. That's awesome. Well, I mean, there you go.
Bone is so
I mean,
worth it,
that's
man.
fantastic. Yeah.
Make her read the rest of it, man. It's such a rewarding
Yeah.
process.
Keep up with, yeah. Convince her to keep up with Bone. Bone is just so goddamn good, man.
Yeah. So and the guy who I said to you about the Wonder Woman thing. So
Hmm.
this is the soldier they chose as a victim of persuasion, and he's basically been invited into this monarch's house, and he's a soldier of the army who was going after Wonder Woman, and they failed, and they decided to use him as a pawn. So what he does is he basically uses he asked several questions, his opinion about Wonder Woman and what he felt, and he was saying like I don't have no whatsoever feelings towards us. I know we're gonna go after her first, but yes, we did fail, but we can go after her. And then he uses his black lasso to persuade him to be. And what he does is basically kills himself.
Mm.
This guy basically ends up killing himself, and he's becoming this storyline on the news channels. And he writes his letter of like, the suicide letter, saying that
Mm-hmm.
Wonder Woman did it to me because she's chopped his balls off. She chopped his whole balls off, and his human, his manhood is gone, and he can't live with himself anymore because he doesn't see any clear messages after. So
Yeah.
anyway, so I liked it. Like, let me say this way, I just enjoyed the way it's been done and how it worked for me. So
Mm-hmm. Those are two, Brian, that people always recommend, and I've just got to get off my ass and get them because I've heard that from so many people.
yeah,
Sheriff of Babylon and the
yeah.
Supergirl.
I read Sheriff in Babylon, and
Please don't submit your wife to the existential pit of despair that is a Tom King book.
yeah, yeah.
There you go. There's Paulo's 2 cents there. Hilarious.
And then it's I don't know. As I say, I've never been the biggest fan of the, but I'm trying. I always try to see what's, because some other people say something about it. I was like, maybe it's because it's a different character, but
Yeah.
it's always usually on a downer. They completely, the way he's writing some of the character, like superheroes, let's say this way, as far as in my mind, and here as well feels like it. They're gonna push Wonder Woman to a point of no return, and
Right.
she's gonna have to retaliate to a point because she has this, like the way her thought is, nobody is at fault, and
Mm-hmm.
nobody is goody two shoes kind of thing. Everybody has their own things, bad and good ones, but doesn't matter who
Mm-hmm.
you are, female or male. Your decisions what makes you who you are at the end of the
Mm-hmm.
day. And she's
Yeah.
not there because she has this ability. She's not there to judge you, no matter which way it is. And there's this heartfelt storyline also about the kid, a boy, who is biggest fan of Wonder Woman, and the parents doesn't know if Wonder Woman actually gonna come and do his last wish because he's about in a dying bed. And then she just takes him to do whatever he wants to, and she takes him into Themyscira to have
Mm-hmm.
a wish. And he has this conversation with her, and she said, is it okay if I am liking of Wonder Woman, as like I'm a biggest fan of you, but I'm a boy and I don't know how to express that feelings? Is that correct of me doing, because I am the boy, I shouldn't do though? And then she's like,
Mm-hmm.
no, you can like whatever you want, it's your choice is to do so. So it just kind of interesting the way he's telling the storyline, but he's using all
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
quirks and film situations.
Yeah, totally. What the hell is that? What did I push? I think most of his stuff is overrated, but those two are really solid. Speaking of Super Girl
Yeah,
and
yeah,
Sheriff of Babylon. He's frequently hated on. I got the first issue of Sheriff and didn't do anything for me. Got the first
yeah,
few issues of Strange Adventures, but actually haven't read it. But Helen did it for me, mostly due to the artwork. Yeah, the artwork was beautiful. And
yeah,
that's the thing that we've said before, say it again. Supergirl, same artist on Supergirl as well, too.
yeah.
And I found the characters interesting, the fantasy stuff to be really fun. I thought for me, with the limited stuff that I've read of Tom King, that was, I
Mm,
think, my favorite of the Tom King stuff that I've read. I
mm.
really that miniseries really worked for me, and it was mainly due to the art. The art was gorgeous, but I liked the story as well too. But the art and coloring was just a stunner on that one.
Yeah, I think I can. Let's say this way, I can tolerate Tom King when he has a really good creative team behind him,
Hmm.
because it just makes it much better. But what, as I
Yeah.
say, it's kind of interesting. So I read this first volume because there's no ending yet. Because it's, I think, as I'm going series, I don't know how far so far. But
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, this first volume, if I don't know the ending, I guess it works for me because I don't
Hmm.
have anything else to say about that after.
Yeah.
But it's just, I never felt like that he ever, in my opinion, that he ever ends really well to be as a writer. It just doesn't have,
Hmm.
or there's a thread missing. It's always usually like one thread missing for me, that it's supposed to be completely complete the storyline for me. Even like Helen, like we were discussing that the same thing when we talked. You understood the ending. For me, that couple of things just didn't make any more sense. Maybe
Mm,
I just needed more explanation, but just the way I felt the story needed to
mhm.
have. That's my
Yeah.
own perspective towards that. So I don't know.
Yeah,
As I said,
totally. Yeah.
interesting.
Um, so I got one that I got from Instagram. I don't remember how I found
Uh-huh.
out about this. I don't know if
No,
it was some random post. I really don't remember. I bought a few
no.
comics from Instagram artists, but I couldn't pass this
Oh,
one up because it is your friend and mine, a fucking MF Doom comic. Um, this guy's only done one issue, so I bought two
mm-hmm,
copies of it. I think it's like the second
mm-hmm,
or third printing. There's his contact info there. Um, he's working on
mm-hmm,
another comic right now that isn't MF Doom related. He is saying that he wants to do a second issue of the MF Doom book. But man, this one was fun. And what kind of got me, first of all, it caught my attention because it's MF Doom. But what also caught me was the interior artwork. It is a raging kind of 80s indie style that is a total blast. Printed on kind of, the Ed Piskor paper, let's say the off-white. It's really fun, especially if you know MF Doom and kind of like all his characters and things. So it's
mm-hmm,
this group that's coming in to kind of take over this store because hip hop has really gone to a direction that this group is strongly against, with money and gangsters and all this kind of stuff, and they want more of an old school feel. And then there's a trio of kind of superheroes that come in, sort of like three of the Fantastic Four ish, and of course
mm-hmm.
MF Doom is behind the entire thing, so we get Doom himself. But there's lots of nods to his characters. There's lots of
You're
nods to his
breaking. I don't
albums.
know. I can hear him.
Oh, you can't hear me? Can you hear me? Hello? Maybe you're frozen. Yeah, you're frozen on my
No.
end. If you can
What?
hear me, you're frozen.
I can't see you, so it's probably my internet is.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
so that's mine.
Yeah,
Oh, for
Brian,
you.
Brian, you can
Yeah.
hear me? Okay.
Give me a sec.
I'm gonna keep trucking on then. So if you know his stuff, there's a lot of like Easter eggs and things. But honestly, even if you don't know his stuff, it's also just a really fun comic by just some guy. I don't know what else he's done,
Mhm,
but it's just a blast. It's the beauty of kind of, it's when algorithms and stuff work for you, instead of kind of showing you a bunch of
mhm,
shit, when you can stumble across stuff like this. And Instagram is really good for cartoonists and comics and artists and things, I've found in my personal experience, even though I don't check in on Instagram nearly as much as I used to. I'm so glad that this crossed my path. So I'll make sure that in this video I put a link. So I'll just kind of hold that up to the screen again there, just so you can see it, take a screenshot or whatever you need to do. Because go and support this guy. Go follow him on Instagram. Like I said, he's showing some art from a new series that he's working on. So I'm subscribed to him now, and I can't wait for whatever he's gonna do. But this is a real strong book, man. Really, really fun. Fucking rad. Yes, absolutely. MF Doom's career was parallel to nerdcore without being part of that scene, right? He was an incredible artist, man. Like he's a guy I can go back to and still really get a lot out of. I've been kind of digging into some hip hop stuff recently as well too. Again, thanks to the YouTube algorithm. I watched this Fire in the Booth with a guy called Ren. That's unreal. And then I
mhm,
watched this Coast Contra. They're four guys. Two of them are twin brothers, and they have these videos where they're kind of sitting around a table and kind of performing. Their stuff is unbelievable, and lyrically they're a little more kind of like old school hip hop as well too. It's about the bars and all that kind of stuff. So some of the way they do their wordplay is really, really impressive. The added bonus with the Coast Contra stuff that I've watched is that they have lyrics up on the screen too. So for an old guy like me, that makes it a little easier to follow. But yeah, so that was not much else to say about it other than fucking awesome. More MF Doom comics.
I don't know anything about MF Doom, so I
Yeah,
can't. And I mean, I don't understand like the appeal because of that. But who is this guy artist? I'll look it up, and maybe you can give me a
yeah,
link so I can look it up to see who he
yeah.
is.
I'll send you a link for sure. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because so he's doing the character based on the rapper, I presume. Yes, MF
That's
Doom's
right. Yeah.
rapper.
So MF Doom and
Yeah.
MF Doom is dead. So this guy's doing like an
Oh.
unofficial kind of, yeah, MF Doom died a
Oh.
couple of years ago.
Oh.
So
Okay.
he's doing kind of like this unofficial. It's not like affiliated with the MF Doom estate, as far as
Oh.
I
Okay.
understand it. He's just using it as a character to create kind of like a fan fiction kind of comic.
Okay.
So because MF Doom kind of took obviously his look from Doom, his
Uh.
whole thing was about the rappers. It was too much about image, so he used to wear that mask all the time.
Yeah.
He had these what they called Doom bots, so he would go and perform, and sometimes it would be someone else pretending to be MF Doom and play a live show, which is fucking incredible because his whole character was about being a supervillain, and that
Uh-huh.
so he really played into that role of like doing all these. And some of his albums are, well, all of his albums are fucking incredible, but like there was so many kind of small things that he did that made this really interesting career. And lyrically he was on the next level. Like his lyrics were
Mm-hmm.
head and shoulders beyond most guys that are out there. Like he's one of those rappers that's revered by other rappers, and they look at him as like he's the pinnacle. Like Most Def classically, he's a huge fan of his, like an enormous Doom fan,
Oh.
so much so that he did a video where he does an MF Doom song and does like a little video about it and stuff, and there's videos of him talking about his love for him. So he's kind of a rapper's rapper to some degree, right? So
Oh,
yeah,
interesting.
great career, amazing music, amazing lyrics. I love the Doombot story. I think is the best. I love that he had sometimes someone else going out and pretending. I think that's amazing, you know. So yeah.
Yeah. So what happened to him? Did he got killed?
No, he didn't. No, he did not. No, I'm actually
Oh.
not sure. I don't know if the family ever officially said what he died from, unless
Uh-huh.
someone in the comments knows. I don't think it was ever fully revealed.
Okay.
Recently, this guy that he would work with had a bunch of MF Doom's books where he had his writings in it. The family was in a fight to get those books back, and it took
Oh.
years. It's finally kind of come to pass where the family did get the books back, which are obviously a part of his history. And what they decide to do with them, I think, is being speculated that maybe there's talk of like kind of putting them out as like a book, where you can get like his verses. And I'm not sure if it's all stuff that's been released or if it was just writings that he was doing when he was kind of working through albums and songs and stuff. I'm not sure of all the contents, but yeah, so the family's got all that stuff back, and they've been doing a lot of promotion. People have been kind of criticizing them because they've been working with some companies putting out toys. There's been a bunch of reissues of his albums, all
Oh.
that kind of stuff. I can't personally fault them for doing that. Like he had a following. I don't think it's a bad thing that the family is looking to kind of make sure that they keep control of that and make sure that that money is coming to the family as opposed to these vultures that usually kind of swoop down on things like this. So,
I see.
but yeah, so yeah, that's it.
I'm not the biggest rapping listening person, so that's why
Mm,
I know the face. The minute
yeah,
I saw it in a comic book, I knew exactly that kind of like I've seen the face because I heard there's
yeah,
some sort of guy who's pretending to be Doom or whatever. That's kind of not pretending to be Doom or
yeah,
using the character's kind of like persona or something like that. So I heard of
yeah.
that, but I've
And
never heard that
there's
he
lots of good
can.
samples on his records where he'll sample like Fantastic Four stuff and kind of cut it in with his albums and things. So yeah,
Oh,
it's a
cool.
lot of fun. Yeah.
Okay, cool. It's funny that
What you got next?
I might have listened to him. Oh, okay. So have you picked up new Usagi Yojimbo?
I haven't made it to that shop. No.
So the 10,000 Plums is part 1 of 5, which came out recently.
Beautiful cover.
I love that one. It screams spring. It represents spring in the
Mhm.
Japanese. They have this specific flower which represents the seasons of the year, and one of the first things you have actually in spring. He died from bad reaction of medication.
Oh,
Whoosh.
there you go.
Um. So it's the plums first comes out, and then you have Sakuras and all that kind of thing, Shibako. But he's using this as a storytelling because they're actually going into a while they're wandering around, they're going to the place where they are famous for those plums and they blooms, and you can see from the distance and blah blah blah. And Usagi Jimbo is going through them. Great story. There's a background stories happening in here with so it shows like I was like, oh look, like because there's more morphopomorphic. I don't know if I can pronounce it properly, but the animal characters become kind of human-like.
Anthropomorphic.
Or there you go. I'm completely wrong on that. Anyway, so yeah, and you see the fox is actually really like fox is supposed to be, and I was like, what's happening in here? I got a bit lost at the beginning, but then of course she turned into a lady who is kind of not rich, and her basically, I guess, daughter or son is in the dying needs, and she's part of that plum farm kind of. She's in that location, and what's happening with her, it's actually going to be untold storyline. Really well told. I'm not going to say much because you haven't read it. I don't want to spoil the hell out of it. What can I say to you all? Also, is as always, it's as charming as always, as entertaining as always, and I'm looking forward to see what it will be next, because of course Usagi Jimbo was asked to leave the premises because it's not of his concern, but knowing Usagi Jimbo and his cousin, they will get involved in the storyline, so we will find out what's happening. There's some comical scenes in here which I really like, the moments where they did something which is very forbidden, and they kind of like cheesily like oh sorry, I made a mistake kind of thing, but that's really good way of storytelling. So I'm impressed with this. I'm not sure I don't know, do you know if the story has been told before? I'm not, because I have not read many stuff of Usagi Jimbo.
I don't believe so. No, as far as I understand it, this new stuff that's coming out is all new stuff. Yeah.
Oh, is it? Oh, okay.
I mean, I could be wrong about that because I haven't read everything, obviously, but that's as far as I understand. This is all stuff that's not been put out before.
Because then it makes more sense about what he's trying to explain to you about how he's dealing with situations, and he actually kind of shows you gives you extra material to understand how he deals with storytelling and what kind of like notes he's been taking in order to understand how it all goes and stuff like that. So this is my favorite, one of my favorite things. I always read the last whatever I pull, which my pull list is not.
Sorry, wrong button.
My pull list is not the best of the biggest in the world, but I always leave this knowing that this is one of the things I will always enjoy, and I always do. It's like, okay, cool, it's back again, because we had like I think a month break since the last story they had.
There was there was quite a bit of a break because the last one was that space Usagi, right? Like I feel exactly. Like the last Usagi has been quite a while ago at this point.
Yeah. So yeah, it's this 10,000 plums storyline seems to be already in my favor. I love the cover. It's just screams to me really nice. I wanted to have it, so I'm looking. Hopefully, I don't know if you want to pick up or you will be picking up, but
I will be. I just have to get to that shop because that one is further away from me that I don't always get to. Galaxy
free covers to pick from. So
yeah.
There's also
is there a Peach Momoko one? Because there sometimes is.
No, not this time.
No, not this time. Yeah.
As Corsa Bravas variant and Mitsushiro Arita variant. That's Mitsushiro Arito variant. So
looks pretty nice.
Well, all three covers are nice, but I'm a biggest fan of the Stan Sakai. I like just having those covers on my pull list in general. But yeah, fan bloody-tastic. So I like I say, I always enjoy Usagi. So it's nice to have it back, kind of thing. So I always make sure I have it with me.
Cool. I went to. Let me get this. Actually, hold on one sec. I went to. I don't get there all the time. It's magnetized on here. Hold on a second. Come here. I went to Fantasy Club Comics here in town. I've talked about them before. Fantasy Club books rather. So he just had a new print made. He printed it up at Color Code in Toronto. Talked about Color Code many times there, Risograph print shop. So I went to see, his name is Austin. I went to see him the other day. I don't get there too often, but it was nice he was working that day because he only works a few days a week. So I got to hang out and we chatted for quite a while. And I bought some books from him. And one that I picked is from a new publisher to him, new to me as well too, Glom Press out of Australia. So he does really good at trying to get stuff in from self-publishing companies. He's ordered straight from Domino, for example. He's got a PO box just across the border so he can kind of get stuff sent there cheaper. He'll go directly to artists to get stuff and carry in his shop. It's a very, very, very small comic shop. It's one rack that has a bunch of comics in there. So I tried one of the books out from Glom Press, sticking with our kind of pink cover theme there. It's called Marion. I don't know how well it feels like it's just glaring like crazy. But it's all risographed stuff. And this one is about a witch that is living in kind of like the modern world and trying to kind of exist. And in this world, there's kind of this group that is, it's sort of like this dystopian type of story in like a very tongue-in-cheek comical way of trying to get her to be a good person and stuff. But she's still doing things like casting spells on people, but her phone is her crystal ball and she gets like these spam phone calls through it and stuff. And so there's a good level of kind of humor with it. So she's going shopping for some stuff so she can cast a spell. And let me get to the page here. They show her process of kind of putting this potion together. And in the last couple of panels, she's got to piss on it. She's got to fart on it. And then she has to kick a cat out of a room. And, or a doll through a doorway and stuff. So really, really silly and entertaining. At the end, she kind of goes in and it's sort of like a reprogramming type of place where they give her kind of the Clockwork Orange treatment. They put her in a chair and open her eyes up so she can't close her eyelids. But then they show her things like, people lying around in the grass and smelling flowers and reading books and trying to get her to be a better person and stuff. So really kind of fun. He had a couple of other books from Glom as well that I might try to pick up at some point. But with this kind of stuff, it is a bit pricey. So yeah, that's kind of the downside of going to see him, is that stuff is a bit pricey, but he gets in stuff because it would be expensive as hell for me to get in anyway if I went straight to the publisher. So it's GLOMPRESS, and they're on Twitter and Instagram. So if anybody wants to check them out. So Australia, I don't know if Spiro is around these days. I see him on Facebook every once in a while, but that would be a place to support that wouldn't cost him $1,000 to get stuff shipped from North America. So I'll just kind of quickly show you the couple of other things I picked up from him. Something called Nosebleed by an artist, Derek Jones. There's 3 issues of this, I think, is what he was telling me. Or is there only 2? Maybe there's only 2 out right now, and he's working on issue number 3. Just looked really great. Again, that really nice kind of classic black and white style. He said the second issue is even better than the first one. So he has an extra copy that he's going to bring in for me and he'll put on hold for me. So who publishes this one? I don't see. Oh, this is from Reptile House. This is the Reptile House gang. We've talked about Reptile House in the past. It's an anthology stable of artists there from, I believe, Texas. Something from Floating World Comics, which is kind of like it's comics, but there's also articles in it as well too. So American Nature Presents. So we have Josh Pettinger in here. There's some Santos sisters in here. Rich Tommaso is in here. And then there's a bunch of columns by people whose names mean absolutely nothing to me, except for Nate McDonough. That name I recognize. But so I haven't looked through this one yet. sort of mix of a zine and some comics that's published by Floating World. So that seemed like a good one to try out. He had in his kind of dollar bin section, this was actually $5. It's from 1987 called Crimson Lion. And it's a husband and wife duo, Gary Langford and his wife, Debbie Langford. They only did one issue. They wanted to do a fantasy comic, so they self-published it themselves in 1987. And it looks wild. Like, again, it's that era that I love. I love that it's a husband and wife team. There's another Langford, and his name is Bob Langford, and he did a comic that's been on my wish list forever on my comic shop, Dreamweaver, which I think what the heck was that YouTube channel? I can't remember what the hell they were called. They did some publishing as well too, through Floating World. I'm blanking on it. Someone will know. But I believe they've talked about Dreamweaver. I've never seen a copy up close. So a family of kind of cartoonists, I guess. So that was a really kind of sweet score. And then the last one was from Hollow Press, bit of a more magazine size. This is a horror comic. I won't show you too much of the insides because it is pretty fucking graphic. So Hollow Press is from Italy, and I can show you this pages here. Hollow Press is from Italy, and they've done some really amazing stuff. A lot of like darker kind of comics, but they've also done stuff from Tetsunori Tawaraya as well too. But this one looked phenomenal. He had a few things that came in from Hollow Press for him. Unfortunately, what's happened with some of the Hollow Press stuff is when it gets shipped to him, it comes a little damaged, because he'll get like kind of a big box, a box worth of stuff, and it doesn't always get handled so well. He said that they're really good about that, though. They'll kind of give him credit and send him some other stuff to kind of make up for the damages. So he's got quite a good selection of Hollow Press stuff in his shop now. So, but that looks really good. I don't know anything else about that. And there's kind of that back cover there. So yeah, that's that from Fantasy Club. I love having that shop in town. It's the only thing. Where the heck are you? Oh, what happened? You got kicked out. Are you there? Can I speak? Can I hear you?
Yeah. Sorry.
I can hear you. Oh yeah, no, that's fine. I didn't realize you got kicked out. All of a sudden, it wasn't working there.
Yeah. Mine internet is like, I don't know. Maybe it must be me because it's very choppy for me. So I guess it's just not working as smoothly as I usually have, which is kind of weird because it usually does okay. But yeah, I'm struggling.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That was that.
I don't know if it's if you can hear me properly as well, but I hope it's.
I can. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you were showing in, I was like, da, and then it got completely chopped, and I was like, I have to go back in, but then I couldn't say anything because I was not part of it.
Oh yeah, right. Yeah.
So I couldn't say anything.
What next? What else you got?
I mean, I know did you? I mean, it was very surprising when I saw your video. You talked about the thing.
I did, because I got issues 5 and 6. So is that issue number 7 now that's out?
Yeah.
Nice.
So you have not read this one yet, yes?
I have not, but honestly, man, oh man, were you right? Like 5 and 6 are so goddamn good. Like I really like these 2 issues. Like they kind of, it almost makes a mockery of those first 4, where it's like, did you get a new writer? Like what the hell was that? And again, like we've talked about before, we know why they did what they did. They had to do a single issue about each character. That's part of the promotion. They want to make some money. Like I get all that, but it really feels like, okay, now this is maybe more what I was expecting from this series, because I really liked those 2 issues a lot. Those first 4 were like, there was good parts in them for sure. There was like issues 1 and 4, I think were the best for me out of those 4 of them, but they weren't mind blowing. This stuff is like next level. And you're right about issue number 6, like seeing it on screen when you were showing it, the way he draws the turtles is phenomenal, but seeing them in person on the page holy shit, man, that last issue is really, really, or number 6 rather, is
Yeah,
really, really good.
and it continues.
So let's hear it.
I don't have nothing again bad to say about Turtles, which is good for me. I am more and more in liking the art even furthermore. I mean, they already were great, but for me, it is definitely having the right feel to the turtles. How like what you're imagining them. It looks like he cares about what he's drawing. It seems to be now, like it's like he's gonna take over, and the way the story continues is once again they are like like they fighting. They escaped finally. They went to the sewers, and the Donatello, he's basically was kind of like he's trying to be the linchpin between all the brothers because he's a bit crazy once again,
A bit
because he has
crazy, yeah.
that, yeah, and that conversation
Yeah, yeah.
Leonardo's keep telling him, dude, that's like really dead and stinking really badly. And he kind of like, what are you talking about? I know you're trying to be like laughing and stuff like that. I don't care really much about it. And then he goes back, he goes around and scavenge this like pizza, and the pizza is absolutely like, I mean, put together with trash pieces together. He's offering that to his brothers, and everybody's like going, like they look at each other like, what are you talking about? This is like, looks horrible. And he basically is trying to be the good guy, and like it's definitely not himself. Do you know what I mean? But
Yeah.
these kind of moments when these artists are using them and showing them, it's just it's one of my favorite things now. And once again we have them splitting apart, because that the mayor is in charge and they can't go anywhere, because everybody's like looking for them now, because they are like on the run proper. And April has much more, I think is going to be much more integral part, because I think I got spoiled by a cover, because you have CLZ, you can see advanced covers.
Yeah, you can see future issues, yeah.
Yeah, and so she's gonna take a mantle of Casey. Sorry for spoiling
Oh,
that to you
cool.
now. But she's wearing his mask, and she's basically you see her
Fucking A.
using the hockey stick to basically deal with things and stuff like that.
It's
So
awesome.
yeah, so I don't know. I mean, so as I say, I am happy because like look at the art. It's so good to
Yeah.
see. It's
Yeah.
consistent now for the past 3 issues. Wow, good for Juan Ferreira for joining. I mean, good for us that he's joined. Let's say this way.
Hmm.
Whoever is reading the comic book, and I love it. As I say, now I actually, yeah, it's like you can definitely spot like what the hell happened to Jason Aaron for the first 4 issues, but damn,
Hmm.
feels so much more cohesive. The Splinter thing hinting stuff is happening quite a lot. I'm not sure if it's just the crazed Donatello and his brain, because actually he's not really. It's kind of sad the way he is, and I hope it's nothing gonna happen to him. But it basically was lots of concentration of him and in this issue, and them trying to basically escape and so that. And it also says that new story arc begins here, so they're really trying to
Mm.
basically get people coming, I guess.
Hmm.
Because I know IDW is struggling hugely, and I don't know if it's gonna continue. But as far as they go, I'm gonna be there because I am a fan. Like
Hmm.
at least turtle wise, from IDW is gonna be taking my whole attention. So I really liked it. So I'm yeah. When I was watching your video, I was like, and you were saying about turtles, I was like, what? Did you?
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, did you pick up your turtle? Like, because that's why I knew we are gonna probably hopefully chat. So I wanted to talk to you about it then. But I was like, oh, you actually got picked up again the turtles,
I mean,
which
when
I
you
was like
it was
thinking,
because
oh
of,
shit, because you weren't
yeah.
a big fan at the beginning. So
No, but I mean, it's because of you talking about issue 6 that kind of made me go, I'll check it out. And again, like we've said a million times, my pull list is so small that
yeah.
I rarely have stuff on it. So it gives me an opportunity to pick something up, and try something out. And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad I did, because yeah, I mean, those first 4 were just meh. Like there was some good moments,
They
but
were
not
meh.
enough. to be like,
Yeah.
I don't want to pick up anymore if this is what the whole thing is going to be, which is, but then I knew that you were going to get them. So there you go. You get out there, you read them and let me know, report back. So yeah, I'm going to stick with it for sure. I'll pick up that next one.
Yeah.
I'll try to get to
Yeah.
Galaxy this week, I think, to pick up some stuff.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Yeah, that's very cool. So I didn't read anything else. Are you ready for this?
Wait, I have another
or do you
one.
want to talk about something else? Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Oh, yes.
So then the Night Watcher. I got so the last issue 5 was when the masks took over, and the way they were presenting the took over was not the way I understood, because in here it explains much more greatly. So they are really completely unraveling this mask's ability and what it can be. And apparently this mask is juvenile kid behind it. And when the powers kicked in, when the Jenica was been bashed about and around, the mask kicked her away from itself and dealt with the bad guys by itself. And I was like, what? So I don't know if it's the way it's written or it's what. So the first thing, a hiccup in the storyline, let's say I could say from the writers, or maybe I don't know what I missed or misunderstood, because I don't know if other people, I've not seen people who I follow maybe on YouTube talking about this comic book in generally. So I'm not sure what's the opinion about that. But I got a bit confused. But then, of course, I got into after reading this issue. So I kind of understand, because we see Jenica and she's absolutely trashed. Like she's been pummeled really by that bear in the previous issue, the bad guy. And she's struggling with her feet. She's struggling with everything else. As I say, relationships not working. She feels like extremely alone. And then she decides to cage the bad guy behind the bars, completely disappear out of existence also. So nobody knows where the bad guy is, because there was a scene on the newspaper saying, oh, this big huge fight happened with this menacing villain of the mutant town, but he suddenly disappeared and he doesn't exist. And now she's keeping him in his cage, and he's like always talking to her like a conscience, like, oh yes, you did you think you're the strong one, and the mask was doing all the job for you. You don't realize who you are having as an ability. You do not realize the consequences of your like helping that person, the woman who basically gave this whole armor to her, what it's all about. And apparently it's its own entity. It's like has magical elements to it, and the person or the being inside this armor is actually a child, and it doesn't understand really what's going on, because when the person who gave away to Jenica this armor, they didn't really explain. They didn't have terms and conditions of use. What will be the thing, and what kind of consequences of using it will entail. So it's kind of intriguing part, but as I say, I got a bit confused with that. But of course, afterwards, while reading this, got a bit more sense. So I don't know, did I miss some part when I was reading? Is there an extra issue beforehand? But basically now she's basically trying to capture her own armor as a turtle, which is great to see her in her outfit, to be honest. And they basically against each other, because it's escaping her. I guess he didn't like to be bashed around by a villain also, and he decided to deal with that situation. But I really like the way the being inside of armor looks like. It's like elongated, but it's all kind of fleshy looking kind of part of it. So I'm intrigued. Not always everything goes smoothly in the storytellings, I presume, but it's so much more entertaining than like the Turtles' first 4 issues were. So in 6 issues, I'm still a huge fan. I'm just maybe Fred Lee, when the way they're writing it, something just I got amiss for me. I actually even thought I missed an issue, but thankfully, I have my comic books here, so I looked it up. No, I haven't. So I'm not going nuts. because that's what happens when you have a bit of a delay on receiving your
Hmm.
comics weekly. You start realizing, like, have I really read it? Like, did I
Yeah, yeah.
actually not have this issue prior? But it's still going so bloody strong. So yeah, it's surprising to me that it's only 6 issues, because it feel like I read more, or felt like I was reading more story, and the turtles by itself were. So,
Hmm.
but yeah, so I'm not sure. I mean, I'm continuously reading it, but for me, it's kind of surprising to have 2 turtle related books in my pull list, because I usually go one conventional one. But I can't
Hmm.
floor it. That's Night Watcher. I kind of want to support it because I actually enjoy it much
Yeah,
more,
cool. That's very
like it
cool. Yeah,
than the comic. So yeah,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
what I was. That's the only thing I read. I also picked up a for the first time Teen Titans Go comic book, because
Mm.
number one came out, I think, this week, and
Yeah,
I
that's
picked
right.
it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I picked up. No, it's not amazing, but it was very
Right.
cheap. So funny enough, DC comic books do can come out with $2.99 comic book as well. Did you hear
Hmm.
that when I said?
Yeah,
Anyway,
two
so
ninety
it
nine
was,
comic book. Yeah.
yeah. So $2.99. I was like, okay, it's almost like Sam Twitch situation. I have to try and just give it to my son for the first time.
Hmm.
And yeah, I showed to him. He read it, and he said that he wants to know what's next. But it wasn't like, for me. It wasn't like fully blown nice issue. It was funny,
Yeah, right,
hilarious, yes, but you could have done a bit better. I think
right.
they can do better. But anyway, but it was great.
Yeah,
And
cool.
now we
That's
can.
good. And
And
as
now
long as he
now
liked
we.
it, I think is the big thing.
Yeah, yeah, true. And then yeah, you can talk about this now.
So hit me. What do you think?
Sad. I am
What are your
feeling
thoughts?
sad. So
You what? Sorry.
oh, I'm feeling sad
Okay.
because Kamui is dead.
Oh, is that what happens at the end? Yeah, I haven't finished the end. Yeah, he's dead in this one, but there's like
Yeah,
9 more volumes.
I know. So I thought you finished it. Damn. Well, you
No,
have
I
to
didn't.
tell
Oh, yeah,
me.
it says right there. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I haven't finished it, but honestly, don't worry about spoilers. It really doesn't matter. It's totally fine.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, right there.
So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
so that's
Crazy.
how I. Yeah. So you tell me what's going on, because I am a bit at a lot, because it's the Legend of Hui. Is it Legend of Kamui because he's will be like a, that martyr kind of type of a character who wasn't afraid. He was. Can you hear me? I don't know if you can hear
I
me.
can hear you. Yeah,
Can you
yeah.
hear me? Oh no.
Your video is freezing
Okay.
sometimes, but your
So
audio
he's kind
is
of like a
always
martyr.
going. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Anyway, so he feels like a martyr kind of type of a character in here, because after finishing the all, the writer of this, I forgot his name on, but he's kind of explains to you, oh, what do you think is going to happen next now that Kamui is dead? That's how he ends the story. And you're like,
Hmm.
shit, so why are you calling it Legend of Kamui?
Hmm.
You're like, it's because that's how I did it. So when I received the comic book, because hey, I'm a European, and the way I read my comic book is the right way, yes, in my book.
Hmm.
Because it's a manga, my head was taking a time to realize, oh shit, we're reading from that side, yes. But
Yeah,
what
yeah.
I did, I spoiled the heck out of myself, because right at the end, you see the fucking chopping head. It's like, fuck, what
Yeah.
is this? I basically already had to basically read this book from beginning, of course, till the end, to actually find out, am I dreaming or it's just a hoax? And damn,
Yeah.
this not a hoax. They
Yeah.
kill him. Spoiler
Yeah.
alert. Chop the head off like proper, and he's not afraid of it. And the way it's kind of intriguing. It's so depressing, the life of the way they were in 15th century Japan.
Yeah.
What the hell those lords were doing to the human beings was disgraceful.
Yeah.
I mean, the time of the era was absolutely, I don't know how people survived, and what they were almost animal like, to be honest, to be in order to survive, because there was those layers of like what do you like classes of humanity,
Hmm.
the way they
Hmm.
wanted to portray that. What is this amazing about this book? His backgrounds are astounding, beautiful.
Yeah.
As I said to you beforehand, I found this book really like easy to get into, and I didn't have problems reading. By the way, I dropped my ball sometimes when I was like, which way is supposed to go, and then you're like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, it
Yeah.
doesn't
Yeah.
make sense. So let's start again. So it happened several times for me because I'm not a manga reader. So
Yeah.
my brain is still trying to get. But honestly, I wish it was bigger. To be really honest with you, I want it to be a bit bigger because some of the panels are tiny,
Yeah.
but you get into, and there's lots of shit happens, lots of murders happens, there's lots of
So much.
twists and turns. The what they did to that girl, I mean, what's her name? I forgot her name now.
So
This
there's
this
so that's the other thing. There's so many characters. It's hard to keep track. Yeah.
Oh yeah, wait, but you have the I'll know the name. Give me a sec. They have this first second page or like fifth
Oh yeah,
page.
right. Where they have all the
They
characters. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
they have all the characters. So there, Omine. So she was in love with Shiroku, whatever is his name. Sorry,
Yeah.
Kusaka Ryonoshi, and
Yeah.
she's a farmer, and he's above her, like two steps above. Yes, and because he's the son of this lord, who's basically in
That's right.
charge of taking taxes. Blah blah blah. It's just the class system is quite complicated also. But then, and she got, but basically they got betrayed by this douchebag who had this idea of taking over. Oh yeah, Lord Hyoki. Lord Hyoki did so much big numbers on everyone. It's just ridiculous what he managed to do with the persuasions of words. And then you have all this kind of trial. Not only you have to fight for your existence, not only you have to fight with the lords and their taxes, and then you have this child who is completely stubborn to all of it. He's like headstrong. He's the lowest of the classes you are able to be
Yeah.
in that era of the time. And he's so headstrong. He's like the guy who is you'd think would survive anything, whatever happens to him. But no, unfortunately, it doesn't. So I really would like to understand what the hell happens to Kamui, what he's doing to him. But I loved it. Honestly, I really liked like this story. It established itself so really well. Unfortunately, it went tumbling, crashing down with all most of my favorite characters because like I always go for the underdog. I don't like the lords, definitely not.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't really like the way they deal with all the taxations and situations and survival. I think they pig-headed it stupidity of existence humans we can have because they want to, they only care about the big tummies and like the wealth, and they
Well,
uh,
and their power, right? Like that's
and the
ultimately what they
power,
care about. Their
yeah,
power.
and the
Yeah.
power that gives them also. And
Yeah.
it's really well, my picture is probably disappearing now.
No, no, you're still there.
And everything what it entails, it's really good, and I could read more, and it reads
Hmm.
quite easily, it reads quite fast. His artwork becomes even more complicated. His fight scenes and despair on the panels are evident and really beautifully done. I don't know, I cannot floor this book whatsoever. I just really wish it would have been bigger. But that's,
Hmm.
at the end of the day, it's a manga. This is how they intend to have the consumption, is quite smaller versions. I don't know if you say that it's very different from what you experienced it from
Yeah.
what you call
Very
them.
and that's the thing. So I mean, I'm wondering myself now because
Mhm.
again, what I've read before is just such a small chunk. It was whatever it was, 30
Mm.
something issues from Eclipse, like such a small chunk out of an enormous lineage of
Yeah.
storytelling. So I'm curious as well because that was Kamui and the stuff that I read. But you know what I mean? So I'm wondering
Mhm.
if it's like the idea of taking this Kamui character and putting him in different situations and having like these sort of stories with this sort of character that's like a catch-all character that's always called Kamui, but it sort of exists in different histories. I'm very curious about that. Um, I loved all the class stuff. I thought was fucking so interesting. I thought all the
Mm-hmm.
taxation stuff was so goddamn interesting, and it's a part of that history that you don't often see. And I really love that there was a good mix of storytelling, but he wasn't afraid to kind of put these historical elements in and even like pause the story to give you like a small paragraph of like, hey, so this is what this means, and
Mm-hmm.
this is why it's important, and here's the historical significance. And then to stop it even more, going to be like almost a National Geographic, where now we're going to look at the life of this white wolf cub for a fucking, I don't know, 75 pages or whatever, right? Like that nature stuff is so good. But then he also says at the end of that chapter, he's like, I realize that I want to make it clear. I am
Mm-hmm.
not saying that the humans and nature are similar. This is a separate story, da da da. Like making sure that, like, hey, reader, don't think that I'm associating the humans with that of the animal world, because it's two different worlds. So good. Like, and like you said, it's so easy to read. um
Yeah.
Once you kind of get into the rhythm, and especially with all the characters, you really get into it. But just the way it's not often in my experience with reading or watching Japanese movies where you're seeing the kind of class structure talked about in this way, in this very, very blunt, no, these guys are fucking scumbags, they're taking advantage of these people, and then those people who are already like low, they now, there's people underneath them that even those farmers kind of treat like shit. You know, they're considered like the lowest of the fucking low. So you think you have this dynamic between the upper class and the farmers, and then it's like, if they screw up, now you're considered this other class, and there's no chance in hell for you, because that is literally it. So it's super fascinating, and I love this cover so much. It's
Mm-hmm.
such a fantastic cover. I love the colors. And honestly, like, it's some of that really great storytelling where it still resonates today. Like, you can still
Yeah.
see elements of this today, right?
Mm.
With like
Yeah.
class and way people are looked at in the world, et cetera, et cetera. So I mean, it still has really good stories, even though it's a very specific time and place. There's
Mm-hmm.
elements of it that you can kind of read into what we're currently living in now, and that just kind of gives it this whole other life. But his art is so goddamn good. The nature stuff is so beautiful. I found the White Wolf story so good. Like that little almost like interlude, like, okay, let's leave them behind and let's go focus over here. And every single panel where it's like a small
Mm.
mouse that's getting attacked by a bigger animal that's getting attacked by a bigger animal, and
Yeah.
just that survival and that idea of like this white wolf looked different. They weren't doing it as any sort of like, we're better than you in the animal kingdom. It's like, no, you're gonna get us fucking killed because you stand out like a sore thumb for these birds and predators that are hovering above us, right? So it's almost this survival thing. Yeah, just really, really, really entertaining. And like you said, like the brutal parts are really brutal, like that guy getting put on the cross and this and getting stabbed through under the
Oh.
arms here, and then finally in the head. Like, just really not shying away from the brutality of the time period, which I think is something that oftentimes, like, regardless of story, I watched this movie called Hard to Be a God,
Mm-hmm.
and the brutality of like this, it supposedly takes place on another Earth before the Renaissance. So they're kind of in the Dark Ages, and they're happy being there. They're happy with their world of ignorance, but it presents that time in a really brutal way that obviously it's not a documentary, but if you kind of extend your imagination a bit to that time period, you can sort of imagine that it would be very gross and dirty and disgusting, and people would be acting in a certain way. Like it fleshes out that world a little bit more to really kind of set you in a place of where humans were at some point to versus to supposedly where we are now, even though that's a much bigger conversation. But I love that he doesn't shy away from that brutality of it. I love that that's kind of like, if we're going to talk about this stuff, we're going to talk about this stuff. I'm not going to gloss over some things. I'm really going to show you how bad these fucking people are. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm really impressed, and I'm so hopeful that everything goes well for Drawn and Quarterly, that they do actually put out all 10 volumes. It's always the worry with stuff like this. Is it selling well? Are they going to be printing the stuff on time? Is it
Mm-hmm.
actually going to get picked up? Are they going to actually do all the books, or will we get to like book 3 and it'll just kind of fade away? So I hope that it keeps going, because yeah, it's such a fun read, man.
Mm. Do you know where they printing their books?
I don't, but there's so many. I believe it's within Canada. I
Okay.
believe, because there's so many comics that get printed up here and then shipped back to the States. So I believe everything is within Canada.
Okay, good.
Because I mean, oh Jesus, that is so goddamn small. I can't read that even with glasses on.
what? What are you reading? Oh,
Published in the United Kingdom by
yeah.
Drawn and Quarterly, client publisher of Publishers Group UK. Interesting. Published in Canada by Drawn and Quarterly. Yeah, I don't see anything printing here,
Mm.
but I imagine that it's printed up here in Canada, especially by. Oh no, it
Ah,
says right there, printed in China. It says right
yeah,
there.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
First edition, January 2025, printed in China. That
yeah, yeah,
surprises me a little bit, to be honest.
yeah.
But either way, yeah, let's hope it keeps coming out. I'm glad you picked it up. I'm glad you enjoyed it. It was,
Yeah.
I know it was out of your wheelhouse a little bit, but
Oh, well, not look. As I say, I've read. I'm not a constant manga reader. I have read some
yeah,
stuff, but I don't go out of my way to do that manga because of
yeah,
it's like, you can get so lost in the comic book world, because there's so much more to discover and there's so much more to read. There is this, if I wear word of mouth, like you were just mentioning, and I know how much you always were, like when you were reading that Kamui in comic book format, you were saying, oh, such an interesting and way of storytelling and all that stuff. So
hmm
when you say it's collected, I was like, okay, cool. You can but they are chunky and they are heavy little
so
chunky
chunky.
things. And there's a lot, what, 500 something odd pages, isn't it?
600 pages, I think,
Which
because
is
I think it was
quite,
originally the idea is it's
yeah,
going to be 10 volumes, 600 pages each. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah, yeah,
604 pages. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So it's quite a bit of a chunk, and it's honestly cheap for the what it is. To be honest, for how
hmm
much you get from. So I definitely, I mean, if it's, let's say that's not going to happen, but in theory, if it would happen, this by itself, it's great to read from beginning till the end,
Totally.
because
Yeah.
all the characters involved got involved. He
Yeah.
didn't leave the threads open and down. The only thing you're curious about is the future, because let's say if you want to tell what story, why you call what I'm interested, why is he calling it the Legend in Kamui? Do
hmm
you know what I mean? Because that's what you thought. When you see the name, you will think that the main character is the part of the ongoing series, which is, if it's 10 volumes worth of it, surely you have done something with them. But overall, from the beginning till the end, this one thing, it works really well and it satisfies you from the beginning till the end.
Yeah.
And also, you mentioned it, I really like his explanation, little paragraphs of explanation, what his intention was, kind of engaging you as a reader, like, wait a second, just, this is what I'm trying to do here. And then I
Yeah.
tell you explanations and also teaching you some sort of things, especially in Japanese, the words and all that stuff, which is absolutely essential part of it,
hmm hmm
because it's foreign to us completely, and it seems to be. I'm not sure if it's correct or not because I don't ever speak or know. I read this in original format. It doesn't feel funky translated. It looks smooth. It goes from the
Yeah.
beginning. There's no bad word of English in here. Everybody seems to be in conversation. There was sometimes maybe the way I was reading it, maybe I wasn't reading correct. I sometimes lost it. It's like didn't make sense one of the sentences, but maybe I'm thinking it's my own reading, choosing, because sometimes I got confused. I don't know if I
Mm-hmm.
can now, of course, find it. I could have put it in a bookmark. But there's some panels where is there's not three on top panels, but there's two and there's one on the side, and I
Yes.
don't
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
one to read, and
Yeah.
I getting kind of I can't see it now, of course, because I didn't put the bookmark. But there was a times where I felt like the story wasn't reading correctly. You know what I mean?
hmm There was a couple of
So
times with the panel to panel dialogue.
yeah, Yeah.
that did seem a little off. It
Yeah.
not enough to like take me right out of it, but it was
No.
like, how is that part of this scene? And then the other thing I will say, my biggest criticism, and it's a very
Mhm.
small criticism at the end of the day, I'm not a
Mhm.
fan of the text, like the look of that lettering. I feel like it's
Oh.
not, it doesn't have enough of a life to it. It
Oh
feels
yes. Yes.
a little too perfect. It doesn't feel
Yes.
hand done. I don't know the story behind it. It wasn't enough to go, oh my God, this is awful. And that's all I could focus on. But I did notice it a few times where I'm like, man, I really wish that text was a little, like had a different feel to it. It feels small in some of the word balloons, and it just feels very rigid at times, where a story like this I feel could really, and I mean, again, maybe that is something kind of a little more true to the original printing, English printing. I'm not sure. I don't know if it's something that they updated for this volume specifically or anything, but it did feel a little rigid at times.
A lot. So from all the slew of characters you get introduced, it's quite a few not existent anymore. It seems
Yeah, right.
that
Yeah, yeah.
he is also hinting on this guy, that the guy who his lover is dead now. She killed herself because
Hmm.
she'd been raped
Hmm.
and all that. Oh, it's just like brutal. But Kusaka Ryo Nishi's his tribe was murdered because of they were accused of something. So because you get
Hmm.
accused of something, the whole thing has to go. So basically,
Yep.
in charge guy, his family members, all this
Yep.
line of thing has to go. Yes,
This whole lineage. Yeah.
yeah, whole lineage. But he disappears, okay, because he gets right word of mouth and stuff like that. And he mentions him quite a bit. What did happen to him? Will we see him
Hmm.
again? And also, this guy Shosuke is also the guy who like really aspiring to become a farmer, but he's in the wrong class of
Well, and he was in love with Omni as well too, wasn't he?
yeah,
Like he had a
exactly. They
big
had a
crush
kind of
on
like
her.
that triangle relationship,
Yeah.
sort of. And he wasn't really expressing himself, but he is also might be a character in the future to look forward to, I presume. But yeah, I honestly, when you see the name, you see the character, the way Kamui was written, I liked it a lot. I
Yeah.
was rooting for him like big time. I was like, and then he's like, you almost look like you almost felt like that the wolf, that the chapter we had in between, like you were saying.
Yeah.
You almost felt like that wolf, white wolf, who he needs to survive in this place where nobody appreciates him, who he is,
Yeah.
and he's headstrong. So it's kind of almost felt like the wolf. And the wolf story kind of ended, and we don't really know understand what's happening with him yet because it didn't
Hmm.
actually explain. So there's a couple of threads I really would like to know what's happening in the future. So in that
Hmm.
sense, I'm more invested now probably in the wolf and the other characters. But honestly, those lords and that the Lord Hyoki, whatever his name, the bad guy of them all,
Hmm.
not the
Hmm.
actual Lord, but he is like yeah, he's Lord. Yeah, so Lord, he is. Oh my God! Honestly, somebody please kill him in the next story because
Yeah. Yeah.
I actually want to do that myself. But anyway, I can't.
Right.
It's been in 1500s. I was never, not in existence in that time. And honestly, I'm kind of thankful I'm not. And it's funny enough how he also paved to tell us because of this, what happened to them in that past. It actually paved the way for our choices, which I actually really do enjoy because I think it does make sense. There's sort of, continuation to whatever happens to us and what's going to future hold for future generations, let's say this way.
Right.
So it's in a way it's also reminded of that, which is great. And also, you learned a couple of few things and it kind of gives you a little bit a different look to what how they were living and what samurai is all about. And it did explain about samurais also slightly, not big, didn't go into it that much, but they
Hmm.
also had explanation what samurai means, which is actually really cool as well.
Yeah.
Because there was some threads of there's this guy, a priest, without you can't see his face,
Yeah.
came on a lookout for him. Like Kamui, he's like, I really like this character. He's very strong. He can have a future. And then he's appearing everywhere. And then you have the other elder who comes to talk to that Ryuki guy who has been, why you want to be a so. He was asking him why you want to be a samurai, and he's basically explained to him, and he started doubting himself, do I really want to be that person?
Yeah.
Fantastic, because it basically gives you inexperienced youth the ability, like, just it's because it sounds good, I have abilities to do so, do I really want to be that one? So I really like that
hmm
part. So yeah,
hmm
so I'm a fan.
Yeah, I mean,
Team.
choices, like, as much as there's no choices
Yeah.
for the majority of people, when you're faced with those choices, what do you do? The other thing that was interesting about even reading at the back is that one of his assistants was Kojima Gozeki from Lone Wolf and Cub was one of his
Yes.
assistants in this book
Uh-huh.
as well too. And I haven't read this yet. I'm curious if in these interviews he does mention his time there. I'd like to do some digging about how much he contributed and for how long, because
Mm.
obviously they're very different styles between those two books.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, that was a nice thing as well too. Yeah, I mean, it's good shit, man. It's I'm so glad that they're doing it.
Mm.
It's just amazing storytelling.
So so for you was absolutely different. So can you so
Absolutely different.
the Kamui books you were reading from in the comic book format, were reprinted, whatever those are, they with Kamui inside it, or they not?
Well, that my understanding was, yes, that was Kamui, you know what I mean? But now I'm even questioning myself of like I might have to open a couple up. Like I'm 99% sure that that
Yeah.
character was Kamui, you know what I mean? It was a much older character and not looking like he
Uh-huh.
does here, obviously. And because due to many reasons, the art style in the comics is much different than this. This is cleaner. He kind of gets a little more rough, I think, in a good way, not in like a sloppy
Mhm.
way. Like his line work gets a little more jagged and it feels a little more lively. The nature stuff is still fucking gorgeous though. Like, and that's, I think, the one of the things I loved about that series was that contrast. The
Mhm.
human figures were drawn really rough, but then there
Mhm.
was still these beautiful backgrounds, and then there was still these beautiful images of, like, they go fishing and this fish is like a drawing you've never seen in your life in a manga, like all of that stuff is even more
Mhm.
contrasting. um but yeah, it's a much different story. It's in that one particularly, he goes to like this fishing village, so it is still about this kind of class of people. I don't remember it being so focused on class though, like this book was. This one really digs
Mhm.
into that, whereas I know that it was talked about in that book. My memory is it wasn't to this degree though. Like it didn't go into this much
Mhm.
detail like in this first book
Mhm.
here. But I'm curious what volume that is.
Perfect.
And like you said, I mean, I don't know.
A good
We'll
look.
see what happens volume 2 whenever that comes out, which is supposed to be sometime this year. I don't know if it was summer or fall or whatever, but second volume comes out sometime this year.
Oh, okay, that's good.
Yeah.
'Cause, I want to know. Yeah.
Yeah, let's have a look, because I know they had it up on their site.
Mhm.
Let's take a peek. Where are you? Let's see. Volume 2. It just says in stores this summer, so there's no date for it, but it does say this summer.
Mhm. So it can be August.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, and the artwork from the sample pages they have, it looks pretty much like this volume did. So we're not into the era that the Eclipse has
Mhm.
reprinted yet. So yeah,
Mhm.
cool. Um, what does that
Okay.
say?
I'm disappearing. So.
Warrior Ikaku. Yeah, I'm just kind of doing a quick glance of the read up before it there, but yeah, it doesn't say anything specifically about Kamui.
Oh my god.
Talks about other characters. Oh, you're frozen there.
Oh my god.
Are you still there?
I'm gone
Can you
completely.
hear me? Hello. Um, I think that's it. Rasa's frozen. I can't hear her. I can see a frozen image there. Um, so I'll just kind of end the stream, and I'll see if I can connect with her to say goodbye. But thank you very much for everybody for showing up this Sunday. Nice to see you all. I'm still going to do a Sunday wrap later on tonight. Let's remove that one. There you go. Are you back?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah. So thanks very much for tuning in, everybody. Nice to see you all. And hopefully I won't be around next weekend because I'm going out of town to do some teaching. So I won't be around all weekend, but we'll be back the weekend after that, hopefully. Yeah, that's it. Right on. Thanks, everybody. Laters. Click it.
Stupid internet.